What's up, guys? Rick from DFS On Demand here with a preview for the Quicken Loans National. Back at it this week. Sorry I missed you last week. I was on vacation in Hawaii. I was still intending to make a video, but the beach kind of won that battle, so I apologize. Oh, actually, I did. I met a viewer, one of my subscribers, at the beach. My girlfriend and I ran into Mike from Ontario. That was pretty cool. Mike, appreciate it. Nice catching up with you. Let's talk about this week. It's the Quicken Loans. It's the National. I don't know what the name of it is this year, but it's that same tournament. We're going to be at TPC Potomac for the second year in a row. So we do not have a lot of course history. This field is pretty weak, but we do have someone named Tiger Woods in it. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get to the cheat sheet. If you're new to this, this is the cheat sheet I make each week. It's available on dfsondemand.com right now. So let's talk about this. You have names at the top of this salary chart, that we will never see at the top of another player pool. 6 guys over $10,000, including names like J.B. Holmes, Kyle Stanley, and Francesco Molinari. That's how you know it's a pretty bad week. So let's talk about TPC Potomac for a second. It's a tough course. I think it was the 4th most difficult course last year on the PGA Tour. Hitting the fairway is going to be essential, so we're going to look for guys strokes gained off the tee. But unfortunately, that's not going to tell the whole story either, because a lot of guys have clubbed down in the past. They might not be hitting as many drivers. So those strokes gained off the tee stats, which might, obviously they take in more than just driver, they might be a little skewed. So we're going to play a lot of guessing games this week. So what are we doing with these guys at the top? I'm going to save my discussion let's just talk about it now. Ricky Fowler, $11,700. That seems to be the price that we almost always assign the guy with the best odds, right? I think DJ was 11.7 at the U.S. Open, or maybe it was a little bit cheaper, but 11.7 is basically the highest that DraftKings will go on a player, and it's rightfully so. He's 7-1 to win this. He's coming in with no worse than a top 20 in any of his last 3 starts. He finished third here third here last year, which is the only year of course history that we have. So I'm going to talk more about Fowler in a second and show you why I might be more interested in him than some of these other guys. But just keep that in mind. Then you have Leishman in the sandwich pricing, right? So a lot of guys I assume are going to opt up to go get Ricky Fowler. They're going to pay the $11,000 for Tiger Woods, who has won this tournament twice in the past. He actually started this tournament. This used to be like his tournament. Oh, and remember, it's an invitational. So there's only 120 players in the field. We're still going to do top 70 and ties. So a lot more players are going to be making the cut this week. So we're going to be looking for birdie makers, guys that might be flying up the leaderboard on Saturday or Sunday, and you're going to have a lot of 6 of 6 lineups through come Saturday morning. So Leishman's kind of stuck in the middle here, where I assume a lot of players are going to opt for Fowler, the big name, the favorite, and then you're going to have Tiger, also 13-1, but his odds are always a little bit inflated here, eating up a lot of that $11,000 ownership. Leishman is probably the guy that goes overlooked. 18-1 to win. He's been volatile, but that's what we're looking to kind of capture in GPPs. We're looking for these volatile, high upside players, and he finished 5th here last year. I have some more stats on Leishman in a second, so we'll just kind of move past some of these other guys. Molinari, the fact that Francesco Molinari is 10-6 is amazing. Like, what a time to be alive. Molinari, $10,600, coming off a 25th at the U.S. Open. And I want to pull up his game logs for a second, and I'm doing this for the first time with you. I've not looked at this yet. But since he plays so much in Europe, I want to see so here's why he's 10,600, right? So last 3 weeks were a 25th at Shinnecock, a 2nd at the Italian Open, and a win at the BMW PGA Championship. Those are no small events on the Euro Tour. So that's a really impressive showing. Then he had a 16th back at the Wells Fargo at Quail Hollow. Again, another difficult course. Top 20 at the Masters. Top 25 at the Arnold Palmer. Top 25 at the WGC. So you can see these are tough fields, tough events. Molinari showing up. I can't believe I'm going to say it. I kind of like him this week. I'm going to have to. Again, I have more stats on him in a second, but that is why he is 10,600. Really no surprise there. All right. Then you get into these other guys. Kyle Stanley and JB Holmes. Kyle Stanley's your defending champion. JB Holmes is on an incredible run, but always seems to falter on Sunday. I'm going to take a wait-and-see approach on these two guys because I want to see what their ownership's going to be. I expect it's going to be pretty low. I expect that if you're going to pay $10,000, you're going to go get one of these other four guys instead of Stanley and JB. But I've been wrong before on ownership projections. I'm terrible at it. But let's just keep an eye out for what the rest of the industry is going to do there. All right. Let's go a little rapid fire here because I do have some other stats that I want to show you. Kevin Na has captured my attention. We're going to get to a tour stats page here in a second, but Kevin Na played well at the Byron Nelson, played well at the Fort Worth Invitational, 35-1 to win this. Again, he's going to show up later when we get to like par 4 scoring. He's going to show up in a very specific stat that I have for this year, or for this course, excuse me. And then a few other guys that I find interesting. Joaquin Niemann, again, has shown his chops in a lot of big events this year. He's going to be hard to overlook. And then Stuart Sink is the one that really pops off here, right? So Stuart Sink, I mean, these are his best two finishes, a second at the Travelers and a fourth at the St. Jude Classics that we have seen in a long time from Stuart Sink. We're going to see he's very good off the tee. I don't want to spoil the stats that I'm going to use in a second, but Sink pops up on the tour stat page as well. All right, who else do we have? David Lingmerth. Lingmerth's name might pop up a little bit, and I'm vaguely interested at $8,200 because of his 5th place last year, but then also TPC Potomac was used for I don't know how many, a handful of web.com tour events, and Lingmerth won 2 of them. So he's won here at this course. He's coming off a 19th at the Travelers. This is, kind of the best form we've seen from him lately, which is not exactly saying much, but Lingmerth is out there. Let's see who else we have. Kevin Tway, Andrew Putnam. I guess I'd be okay. There's got to be some value plays here. I haven't looked too deep into the value here so far, so I'm kind of doing this with you as well. Vegas likes Brian Gay a lot more than DraftKings does. So look at these last 4 finishes for Brian Gay. 3 top 20s, including 2 12th place finishes. He's 66-1. You can see some of his peers, 125-1 to win this thing. Siwoo Kim kind of in the same boat. Those are 2 guys that Vegas likes a lot more than the DraftKings pricing does. Those would be indicated to be values. Anyone else down here that we might want to roster before we just move over to some of our other tools? Not really, right? We'll find some guys later here when we get into the tour stats, which is where I'm going to take you right now. So here are the tour stats that I have chosen for this week. Or actually, I shouldn't even say I've chosen them. They've chosen me. So if you watch this channel, you know that I run a regression model for DraftKings scoring for the last 8 years and all of the PGA Tour stats for the last 8 years. The problem is we only have 1 year of TPC Potomac. So I had to decide if I wanted to do what we've done for the U.S. Open, which is lump the tournament together and say, it's usually set up the same way. You get the same type of course. I didn't find that to be correct this week. So I'm giving you the correlation for 1 year of TPC Potomac. Keep that in mind. So I'm not weighing these key stats as much as I would in another week because we only have 1 year. So keep it in mind, but I still think there's some gems in here. So the stats that came out are a little bit different because it is just 1 year, and it's interesting. So we have par 4 scoring. No surprise, it's a par 70. That always pops up when we have a par 4 or when we have a par 70. Strokes gained total, no surprise there either. Then you get proximity from 225 to 250. That's 225 to 250 yards out. You've probably heard me talk about this before where I don't always love these stats because we can't guarantee guys are going to be hitting from this range often. Like someone like I know he's not in the field, but Dustin Johnson, who hits the ball a lot further than everyone else, he's rarely hitting from this range. So maybe his numbers are a little bit skewed. But the fact that this did pop up, and it's popped up once before this season, I forget where it was, but it ended up being a pretty strong correlator for success. We're going to look at it. Then we have birdie or better because it is DraftKings scoring. And then total driving's the other one. Small fairways, hard to hit. Rough should be thick, okay? It is going to be penal if you hit the ball in the rough over and over and over again. You're going to make a lot of bogeys. Total driving, being long and being accurate are very important. So that's what that total driving stat is. And then if you're looking for another, how about bogey avoidance? Again, the fourth most difficult course on the tour last season. There's going to be a lot of bogeys out there. Guys who can avoid them, obviously pretty good. All right, so let's roll through these. Par 4 scoring. Ricky Fowler leads the way. Okay, kind of just cementing my love for Ricky Fowler. But then you're going to get a couple of other interesting names. Kevin Streelman is going to be a guy that is talked about often this week. I am lukewarm on him. I am probably not as hot as everyone else, but I understand why Kevin Streelman's going to pop up. Solid player, doesn't make a lot of bogeys, great at par 4s. Let's see who else we have here. Beau Hossler, he had a great week last time he teed it up. We always see Chesson Hadley here. And actually, Chesson Hadley is going to pop off in a couple of these stats, right? Birdie or better, he's going to pop off in strokes gained total. Kyle Stanley, your past champion. Sorry, I was wondering if I was reading that right. Kyle Stanley, your past champion. I like him compared to some of those other guys at 10,000. Someone like a JB Holmes, I prefer Kyle Stanley. And then here's Leishman again, right? And you can see there's a lot of green for Leishman. I think he's going to be kind of a sneaky little GPP play. I bet you get him at a pretty low ownership, but I'll wait for the experts to weigh in on that. All right, anyone else here? Here's Stuart Sink at $8,500. He's what? Probably 15th in the field, something like that. And then Kevin Na, he rounds out. I'm eyeballing this, what looks to be like the top 20. So those are the names that pop off the charts for me. Here's Tiger Woods, strokes gained total. Are we willing to buy Tiger Woods? I'm not yet a believer. This week is the closest I've been because it's the weakest field. He's had great success here, or in this tournament. I shouldn't say here, but he usually tends to build on that tournament success. I'm a little bit concerned that he still sprays the ball all over the place off the tee. And he really only had one round since his comeback where he outpaced like his finishing position. It was whatever that round was. I think he shot like a 63 or something. That was the one time we saw him make a bunch of birdies where it really improved his DraftKings scoring. Otherwise, since his comeback, it has been completely dependent on his finishing position, which is not a trait that I like to take on in my golfers. All right, who else do we have? Gary Woodland. I really liked Gary Woodland at the U.S. Open, and I did not pull the trigger on enough of him. I had a lot of him, or a lot compared to everyone else, but he popped off my model, and I kind of just shied away from it. That was probably incorrect. You can see that he is outpacing the field in nearly every single category for this week, especially total driving. Strokes gained total, he's okay at par 4s. He's pretty good in this proximity range. I will probably have to go and roster him now at a much more expensive number than his U.S. Open number, but it all still seems to fit. I don't think I can ignore it 2 weeks in a row. All right, who else is here? Kevin Na pops off again. I mean, you start to see some of the same names here. Leishman and Streelman. Beau Hossler again. Let's go to this proximity stat. So this is 225 to 250. This is where you're going to find some of those other value plays. So, Kevin Na, again, talked about him. Lanto Griffin. Let's pull him up. Let's do his game logs here. Because I'm assuming a lot of the field doesn't know too much about him. Yeah, and it's very much feast or famine, right? So here's since January, so since the Farmers. 12th place at the Farmers, which is a very difficult course. I'll show you something on that in a second. 28th at Corrales, but that's an off-field event. Made the cut at the Valero, and then made the cut last week at the TPC, at the Travelers TPC River Highlands. Not as great as I would like from a deep value, but if you're super desperate, I guess you could do worse. Here's Molinari from there as well, right? Molinari pops off here as well. Also plus in strokes gained total. Birdie or better real quick. These are all the normal guys we see every single week in here, right? These are no surprises. Leishman and Fowler kind of leading the way here as far as our elite options go. No surprise. You can see here's the problem with Tiger, right? You're paying $11,000 for him, and he just doesn't make enough birdies. And then here we go. Okay, so total driving, Gary Woodland, Kyle Stanley. I think he's a great $10,000 option. A lot of values here. Joel Dahman actually popped off a couple times. We got burnt by him a few weeks ago. If you're willing to go back to the well. And there's a couple of one-offs here. And you can see Fowler essentially elite in every single one of these categories, which makes me want to, think he's well worth the $11,700 price. Now, I do want to show you this. So you guys know I've been working on some other tools. I'm so close to releasing them. I've been doing a lot of strokes gained stuff. I've been doing a lot of DraftKings points gained. I just need a way to package this up to make it user-friendly and to get it out to you guys. Here's one of the things I've been working on, and maybe I can make this a little better. This is behind the curtains. I mean, I have not published this anywhere yet. If you're not familiar, go back and watch some old videos. I talk about DraftKings points gained. That way we can see per field, per tournament, who's gaining DraftKings points on the rest of the field. All right, so what you're seeing on the left-hand side here, and I can make this bigger, is essentially everyone in the field and their average DraftKings points gained, I believe, I want to say in the last calendar year. Something like that. That looks about right. Fowler's played 31 events. Tiger's only played 11. I'll check the filter on this. But a longer-term look, right? And you can see Fowler averaging nearly 25 DraftKings points gained on the field every single week. That's really, really good. Leishman up there, but then you see it's a pretty sharp drop-off. Like, between Tiger and Jimmy Walker, which is, a dozen guys, it's only 5 points. But Leishman is 5 points ahead of third place, and Fowler's 5 points ahead of that of second. So those guys are significantly better than the field, gaining DraftKings points in the events they play, which is important because these guys play tough events. They play tough fields. They play tough courses, which leads me to this, which is the same stat, but only looking at what I deem to be hard courses. And those hard courses are just the 10 most difficult courses on the PGA Tour, I believe, and then looking back at something like the last 4 years. Okay, so you can see here in those 9 starts, Fowler still averaging 21 points over the field in DraftKings points gained. So 25 in all events and 21 on hard courses. That's very impressive. JB pops off here. There are some values, though. Stuart Sink, 17.9 in 13 events. He has one of the largest sample. He might have the largest sample size. Okay, so not only is he playing well, not only is he does he have the game to fit a course like this, but he's also shown his chops on very difficult courses. Mark Leishman is on here again. He's they're begging me to play Leishman in GPPs, aren't they? Like it's really setting up for him this week. Now, if we look for some other names, it starts to get a little bit concerning, right? Let's see if we can find some other names. Here's Tiger, 6.4. Let's see who else we can find here. Jimmy Walker, near neutral. He's much more expensive than a lot of these guys. Now we're into the negatives, right? Now we're into the guys who are struggling on hard courses. Peter Malnati. I mean, these aren't big names anymore, right? But just to see, Malnati has a big sample size, losing points all the time. Kind of interested to see Siwoo Kim there. Joaquin Niemann, I wouldn't be too concerned about this because he is such a young player. These are probably his starts from like that might be very, very difficult events that he was playing as an amateur. I'm not worried about that. I'm more worried about some of these established guys that are struggling on these courses. So I think this is a really interesting look and I'm working my butt off to get this to you guys. And I want your feedback on it, how you want it to look, how you want it to feel, what you want to be able to search. Send it over to me. Tweet me. It's at DFS On Demand, or leave a comment below. I'm happy to look at it. And then let's just wrap this up with the odds like we always do. So there is actually a lot of, wow. Okay, so I did not do this until right now. So I'm looking at this for the first time with you. So what we would say is, so I always kind of throw out Tiger's number, right? His odds are never true odds to win an event. But here's what's interesting. Charles Howell is 28-1, the same odds to win as JB Holmes. Remember Charles Howell, second place last year? 28-1, $8,900. Heck of a value. Here's Bo Hostler, just 30-1, just slightly behind JB, $700 less. Here's Benny On. So here's that 40-1 range we were talking about. Benny On and Joaquin Niemann, same price. Benny On's, $400 cheaper. Billy Horschel is kind of the king of the 45-1s. Siwoo Kim, kind of the king of the 50-1s. Hadwin and Brian Gay, we talked about, they're outpacing their peers as well in some of these price ranges. So there is some value to be had this week as this tournament, or as these odds continue to roll out. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed. Again, tweet me what you want to see. I'm working hard on some tools. I'd love your input. Again, it's at DFS On Demand, or leave a comment below. I'll talk to you guys soon. Good luck.